Everybody wants the best gear, but no one asks the real question. Does gear make the artist, or does the artist make the gear? A month ago, I was at Levitation in Austin interviewing bands, and this question kept coming up. These artists love their gear, but not everybody can afford it. So I wanted to find out once and for all, does gear actually matter? I'll let Sammy Duet answer that one.
You don't need the best gear to make things happen. I mean, the whole thing was like back when I was even in Crowbar, we used the old cheap Randall heads. And we created a monstrous guitar sound out of that, like a shitty pawn shop guitar amp. So it's not about being obsessed about gear. It's about being obsessed about the sound you hear in your head and making what you have work. And sometimes, you know, that's actually a better in response rather than buying like a $45,000 Wagner or something like that, you know what I'm saying? And you take a fucking $500 Randall and you jack it with whatever fucking pedal you have with some shitty guitar with a shitty pickup and you make it work. And so, our prime example is this, Tom G. Warrior from Celtic Frost. One of my favorite guitar tones of all time. You know what he used back in the day, dude? He used a JCM 800 with a tube screamer with a shitty Ibanez Iceman and made the shit sound like a monster. So it's not about the gear that you pay all this money to get. I mean, he made a legendary tone out of shit that was nothing, you know? So it's all about the ears more than the pocketbook.
Sammy, if you don't know, is a legend from Acid Bath. The band is doing a reunion tour right now, and it's incredible after 30 years. Back in the early Acid Bath days, they didn't have any money. They used cheap Randall solid-state heads and the Metal Zone pedal. Now, this was the first pedal that I owned. While everybody else was using the PV5150 and the Zakk Wylde EMG 81 and 85s, I had this. And to me, it was able to keep up with everybody else. I was coming from this punk metal scene that was transferring into hardcore, and everybody was using the PV5150. But for me, hey, $100. And by the way, if you want to support this channel, go to the link below and you can buy this pedal for $99. Still, it's one of the best pedals if you want a heavy sound with no budget. So sometimes that broke musician setup becomes your signature sound. Even Dimebag Darrell, once stayed over from Acid Bath in Dallas, Texas, preferred those same solid-state Randalls over high-end tube amps. He even tried the expensive model Randalls that were built for him and hated it. There's something about that gritty solid-state sound that defined metal in the 90s. Unfortunately, those solid-state Randalls cost a fortune now, but you can still get great deals on amps like the PV Butcher, which is like some high-end Marshall amps. So does gear matter? Sure. But it's not about price, it's about how you use what you've got. If you live in a place with a thriving music scene like Austin, Texas, surrounded by musicians flexing boutique rigs, you can stand out by crafting your own tone from something different. Cheap gear forces you to get creative, and creativity always wins over cost. Okay, let's go in a completely opposite direction with Christian Bland from the Black Angels.
I tried to kind of collect the pedals and the amplifiers that my heroes used. So like an example of that is I like to use Echo Rec Echoes because Sid Barrett used those. I've got an old gray fuzz bass from the late 60s, Jimi Hendrix. I'll use a Univibe because of Jimi Hendrix.
Now, I've jammed with Christian before, and he has some seriously high-end gear, and he swears by it, the kind of gear the greats used. And he's right, these old amps still sound incredible. You'd think by now someone would have built something better, but they haven't. I personally love using 60s Fender Basement amps, crank them up with any pedals, and they growl. They're built like tanks, they age well, and they still hold up to this day. Next up, we got Jake from the Black Angels.
Does gear actually matter, in your opinion?
It does. I use all, authentic gear, and I try and play exactly like the record, so I bring everything that I pretty much played on the record. Yeah. But I always use a twin reverb live Fender, just the workhorse, yeah.
What kind of gear were you going towards in the beginning to just get yourself started?
I was just washing dishes and saving all my money, and I would go to pawn shops or whatever, and I always believe in buying something good once that lasts forever. And, I've been playing the same guitar for, I don't know how long. That's my Gibson 335 in 1971. I always play that. And I got lucky enough to get a couple other guitars, but I would say just save your money and get something that lasts, something quality that you love, that's all.
Like Jake said, buy once and you're set. Some amps are workhorses. The Fender Twin Reverb, for example, you can grab a used one for around $800. It's reliable, loud, clean, and it can get dirty with any pedals. Tube amps do need maintenance, but The warmth is unmatched. To these guys, yeah, gear matters. They see their rigs as tools built for life on stage. Now for someone completely out of left field, Oliver Ackermann from Death by Audio and A Place to Bury Strangers.
You don't need any of these pedals. I think good sounds come from the frickin' heart and what you're doing. But if you want something that sounds unlike anything else, all these circuits are totally bonkers, off the wall, really aggressive, really intense. The most intense delay you've ever used, the most wildest reverb you've ever used. Fuzz that's louder and crazier than any fuzz you've ever used. Death by Audio is the place where we make that stuff.
You see, Oliver's kind of like a mad scientist. He builds his own pedals, creates chaos on stage, and pushes sounds to the edge. His tones are wild, but even he says you don't need fancy gear to sound great. Use what you have, experiment. If you want to stand out though, Death by Audio pedals exist for a reason. They sound like nothing else on this planet. Now for one of my favorites, Ruban from Unknown Mortal Orchestra. And sorry about the audio, for some reason the microphone decided to die right when I pressed record in this interview.
Keep an eye out for like Jackson guitars or like 80s shredder guitars now, because they're like really good guitars and they probably get them they're probably a bargain, you know? If you get like a short scale Fender, it's like they're all over the price now, you know? So it's like, I don't think that's cool.
Ruben has a great point. He loves great gear. He loves the analog sound, and Jackson specifically. And there's still great deals out there. You don't need the most expensive guitar. You can find good guitars out there that'll last you forever. For me, I prefer Japanese-made Strats or Jacksons. So, does gear matter? Of course it does, but not in the way most people think. You can record something legendary with a $200 setup or a $2,000 one. The difference is intention. If you care about sound, you'll find a way to make anything work. But there's one thing that always matters: reliability. Your amp has to work. Your strings can't snap on the first song. Your cables can't cut out mid-set. The crowd deserves your best. Don't wait for perfect gear. Start now. Use what you've got. Every sound you create, every riff you record, every show you play teaches you something. Acid Bath didn't wait. The Black Angels still chase tone like their students. Death by Audio builds chaos out of scratch, and Ruben defines precision into feel. So yeah, gear matters, but only if you do.
If you're watching this, partner, you might have the shittiest amp, the shittiest guitar, and the shittiest pedal, but you might create a legendary guitar tone.
Hey, if you like this video, join our membership. You'll get access to the Stoic Rockstar Vault, packed with rare concerts, full interviews, and footage that has not made it to YouTube. The stuff that's been bootlegged and passed around for years. Plus, members get extra perks, behind-the-scenes content that you won't find anywhere else.